happens when we dump a pine cone in water? Well, you might say nothing at first, and you'd be right. It takes a little time. But if you leave it in there for quite a while, several hours, you'll notice something strange is starting to happen. Can you see how the pine cones are starting to close up a little bit more? Pay attention to the difference. The scales, those hard parts that you see, are starting to close in on itself. Why does it do that? Well, first of all, let's figure out exactly what a pine cone is. Pine cones are the female part of the pine cones on an evergreen tree, right? It's called a pine tree. Basically, it's the seed carrier. So this is the female part. There are male pine cones too. They're called catkins, but you'll see them more in the springtime. They're a lot softer, and they're what holds the pollen on the inside. Because we have the seeds in here, these are really precious cargo. You have to make sure that you are taking care of these. Pine cones help reproduce trees, so we can have more pine trees. We want to make sure that those seeds are protected. So that's what the pine cones do. When you dunk them in water for a long time, the scales start to close up. Let's see what it looks like up close. I've had these in here for 3 hours or so. And can you notice that it looks like it's much skinnier, right? It's not because it's a different species. It's just because that everything has closed up on itself. Why does it do that? Well, it's because they want to protect the seeds when it's cold and damp. It's not perfect time for the seeds to kind of spread out. It wants to be dry and a little warmer. So that's when the pine cones spread out. There is the water on the scales that you'll see. The outer part of the scales are a little bit more absorbent. And so they absorb more of the water, and it helps to kind of curl in on itself. And the inner part of the scales don't do that. So that's why it closes up just like this. Don't forget to actually look for the seeds. So you've got your pine cones right here, and you can see if you pull the scales down and pull it apart, you can actually find where the seeds were. So the seeds on this one have already been distributed. So they're long gone. On this one, we're actually going to be finding a few. We'll pull in. So you can find the spot where the seeds were. But make this experiment your own, right? You don't have to just do it the way I did it. Try it with cold water and with warm water. Does that change just how fast the scales close up on the pine cone? Maybe you want to leave it out overnight. How long does it take it to dry out now and then spread out the scales? Could you speed up the process with an oven and a parental help? Maybe put on the temperature about 350 degrees, put the pine cone in the oven and see. Will it take a minute, an hour? Who knows? So play around with this and have some fun and just see a little bit of magic and wonder and science in your everyday life this winter.